Welcome back. You're watching eNCA. We're bringing you coverage of the ANC's 55th conference, National Conference. It's an elective conference, and as I say that, we are inching ever closer to that moment when the contests will be settled one way or another, at least in as far as the top 6 positions are concerned. That is the President, Deputy President, Secretary General, Deputy Secretary General, National Chairperson, as well as National Treasurer. There's a possibility that there might be a top 7 by the end of the evening, of course, because the ANC, before getting to those nominations, will be dealing with the question of whether or not there should be a second Deputy Secretary General position. And the reason for that is that the office of the Secretary General is quite crucial in the running of the ANC. And the last few years, the last few months certainly has shown the importance of that role, right? You had a situation where the ANC's Secretary General, Ace Magashule, was suspended. And then you had Jessie Duarte stepping in, the late Jessie Duarte stepping in because she was Deputy Secretary General and running things in that capacity. But she passed away, sadly. And that left a void in that office of the Secretary General, with the result that Paul Mashatile, who is National Treasurer, then doubled up as acting Secretary General, but of course without a Deputy Secretary General, didn't even have that support to fall back on. So it's a crucial conversation that will precede the actual voting and nominations happening, because they will need to know, do they need to nominate a second person to be a second Deputy Secretary General? We're still some way off from any of that happening. And the reason is that there was a dinner that was being taken by the delegates here. They were meant to go back to the plenary hall at 7:30. So let's check in if that has happened. It will be hard to miss them. Let's start with Siphamandla Koke. Siphamandla, I'm saying it would be hard to miss the delegates as they move, because they certainly, in true tradition, they move... They certainly move in song, and you can hear them. We did hear them loudly earlier on. So let's go to Pule Letshwiti-Jones, who is watching the situation there. Pule, the delegates, have they made their way from where they were eating dinner and back to the plenary hall?
Well, to listen, earlier on, the mood was really charged. We saw, groups of delegates actually making their way to have dinner, and they were singing and in high spirits as well. And like you said, you could hear them from studio when they were making their way into the wall. But right now, we're seeing, less and fewer delegates actually now going back to plenary. You understand that delegates, some of them are still on a break. And when plenary returns, the organizational reports will be discussed, credentials and constitutional amendments will be tabled by delegates. But there's also that whole discussion around adding an additional member to the top 6. I'm just going to get a reaction from Sibang Motlabi, of course, from the Northwest ANC Youth League, joining me right here as well. Sibang, thank you very much for joining us. Now, of course, there's much being said around that whole issue of one member having to be added to the top 6. Is this something the Northwest is supporting?
No, look, it's a good move from where I'm sitting. As a member of the ANC in good standing and as a delegate. The constitutional amendment recommendation, it suggests that we must have a second DSG. You would remember that the previous National Conference of the ANC, the 54th National Conference of the ANC, it has recommended that the NEC must develop what we call the auditing manual, because our auditing of branches is more numerical, more than the functionality of the branch. And the because you'd know that he was elected as a Treasurer General, and later on, upon the suspension of the Secretary General, the NEC, which is the highest decision-making body in between conferences, then took a decision to then make him the acting Secretary General. Later on, we lost the DSG, Mama Jessie, may her soul rest in peace. It was not an easy task for where I'm sitting, I believe, because he was running the office solemnly alone, even when the National Executive Committee then also took a decision to beef up the SGO with Comrade Gwen Ramokgopa. But the reality of the matter is that they were not elected in a conference for that. So they had their other responsibilities that they were elected for. And as a result of that, of course, not everything that was supposed to be done in that office was done.
As the provincial delegate, what are some of the things that you would want to highly discuss and debate over as you go back into plenary? What is one issue which you think is a burning factor that has to be discussed without any delay?
Look, the burning issue that I would want us to discuss is the character of the ANC. When I speak about the character of the ANC, we must be saying where we are as the ANC. Is our character the character that speaks to resolve to day-to-day challenges of our people? Is our character of the ANC as an organization a character that would be able to voluntarily draw in members of the society without even going deeper and door-to-doors, because they must join voluntarily? The character of the ANC that says to us, are we really saying we are prepared to change the lives of our people and give our people a better life? You can only do that once we have analyzed what we say, the day-to-day challenges of our people, and then the character that you must have and possess as an organization must then be able to respond to challenges of our people and changing the lives of our people to become better. Because you would remember that the character of any organization will be determined by the material conditions that our people are finding themselves in. Now, when our people find themselves in particular material conditions, and the organization must then be able to adapt. We can't be an organization that is stagnant, because we would not be able to move with the time, and then really will expire if we're stagnant.
Sabang, you are a mayor in one of the municipalities in the Northwest. You're a young person as well. When we speak to the deployment of skilled ANC cadres into government sectors as well, are you happy in terms of the representation within the top six and, of course, within the NEC as well that will be elected?
Look, the reality of the matter is that the ANC is a democratic organization. We might say that younger people must take charge, and you see that young people are delegates here. But the reality of the matter is that as a democratic organization, we must respect what branches are saying. And in this regard, branches, they have expressed their view in far as nominations are concerned, and they will come here again, they are here again as delegates to really express their views. But what we must say is that the conference and the ANC membership at large must understand that the society is getting younger every day. These young people are not going to be voting based on the history of the ANC, what the ANC has done pre-apartheid and all of pre-democracy and all of that. But what we would want to see is that the ANC must acknowledge that when the society gets younger, you ought to reflect that and be young and reflect the young leadership. So that when you have the young leadership as an organization, you've got this young leadership that can infuse ideas, because they live amongst these young people. They live with these young people on a daily basis. So as we are moving forward, we've got a call as the ANC clique that we want to see majority of young people making it to the National Executive Committee, because we understand that is the highest decision-making structure in between conferences. Now, if young people are in majority in the National Executive Committee, would then be able to steer the ship in the right direction, and making sure that we have the National Executive Committee that is not only going to sit after being elected, but we've got a National Executive Committee that is going to implement the resolutions of the National Conference, and make sure that all deployed cadres of the movement, they do what is expected of them. All deployed cadres of the movement, they don't drag the name of the organization into the mud. Now, if you have such energetic and skilled leaders also being part and parcel of the ANC leadership, you would then be able to, even yourselves as an organization internally, put measures in place to evaluate your own deployees if they are doing good in government and in all sectors where you have deployed them. Because I would not want us to say we must only deploy skilled cadres in the administration, because we also need them in the political leadership, because that's where decisions are taken, that's where rational decisions ought to be taken, where robust debates are taking place. So where we are sitting, we are saying gradually we are going there. Of course, we'll be introducing a discussion inside the conference that when we are above 65 years, we must not stand for the National Executive Committee anymore, because we believe that by that time, really you are really tired, and you can't want to live when you're 75 or 70 years. So it is a discussion that we are going to be pushing. If we pass, we pass. If we fail, we fail. But it's the start. It's something that we are even going to push for when we go to the to the National Policy Conference, because we believe that when the society is getting younger and the electorate therefore is young, so the ANC ought to reflect what the society is. We must not be in denial, because when you reflect what the society is, it means whatever decisions that you are taking will be a reflection of the society, because those that are leading the society are young people.
Thank you very much. That's Sibang from the Northwest, of course, representing the ANC Youth League. Tulas, just, sharing their views in regards to what are some of the discussions and, of course, views they want to bring when they're in the plenary session, discussing some of those reports and commissions as well, to say these are the issues we're tabling, and we ought for the national leadership to listen to what we want to present. But let me just show you on my left-hand side, Tulas, here, some of the delegates as well who are now making their way back to the plenary wall. They were, of course, on a dinner break, but it seems everything may get underway in just a few minutes as they now prepare to get in high spirits and, of course, go back into the session where the business of the electoral conference will get underway.
All right, thank you for that. That's eNCA's Pule Letshwiti-Jones.